And we're live. So we're here for the Premier League watch along. It's myself, Paul Neal, joined by Gerard Brown. And yeah, Southampton versus Manchester United. Four Irish players on the bench. Ger, how are you feeling? How are you keeping?
I'm good and yourself, Paul. Looking forward to this game. Should be an interesting one. Manchester United, as much as it pains me to say as a Liverpool fan, have been the most impressive team since lockdown, since football's returned. They're actually very enjoyable now, I have to say, to watch. They're looking really good for that top four place. But this could be a banana skin for them because the Southampton have also been quite well since football returned. Had that big win against Man City last week and have a good away record. It's the fifth best in the league this season. They've already taken points away to Arsenal, bet Chelsea, Stamford Bridge. I've got one of the most prolific strikers in the league in Danny Ings, so it won't be a pushover for Manchester United. You still feel that like a lot of other teams, like the likes of the Wolves and the Chelseas around them, that there's still a bad result in them. I just think maybe tonight could just be that little bit of a stumbling block for them.
Yeah, well, as we all know, like you can't win every game you play, and they've been on such a good run that inevitably it's going to come to an end. I don't think it'll come to an end tonight, though. I think they have the quality now and the firepower that they score from all different positions, whether it's Fernandez, whether it's Pogba, and then you've got the front three of Greenwood, Martial, and Rashford then as well on top of that. So, but I mean, Southampton could cause an upset with Danny Ings in the team as well, as you said. He could score against anyone, so I wouldn't rule it out all the same. If anyone's there, we've got 15 people online there, so if anyone's watching, want to get your comments in to me and Jer after something you want us to discuss while we're watching the game, feel free. Just back from nice bit of chicken wings in the local pub there, so nice and full, and a bit of a food coma as well.
Any points to go with that?
No, I'm off the drink 4 months in 2 days, so
Jeez, that's some going. So you're literally you survived the whole lockdown sober. That you literally deserve a gold medal for that.
nah. Well, I wouldn't drink at home anyway.
No, I,
So
I wouldn't normally drink at home much. I have the odd time, like maybe when I'm not working a weekend and all that, but like I've got out two or three times now since the pubs have reopened. I've got my food as well, but um, like I wouldn't be mad now for going drinking at home. The last one, like I think the last time I drank at home was the night Liverpool won the league, and like that was a Thursday night, and I was working the next morning, and none of my family members were overly drawn into it, so I only had a couple of cans. Like I wasn't going to go ballistic and have a mad session by myself because that would just be a bit strange. But yeah, obviously, of course, we're still kind of supposed to get into the news of everything that's happened over the last couple of days with the sad passing of Jack. It was great to see the Boys in Green documentary last night. I watched the full 2 hours of it. It was absolutely brilliant. To kind of even put a shiver down my spine for someone that was before my time. And even though it was only on 3 or 4 months ago, I think the first show that they aired at the start of March, it was still just brilliant to watch again.
yeah, well, this is it. Like as I say, when you know yourself, you obviously did a video with Kevin Sheedy over that time. Um, looking back on Jack's era in charge and how successful it was, and it was our most successful time. Obviously, me and you following Ireland, our most successful manager was probably Mick in his first spell. Um, so to be able during the lockdown to interview so many players that played under Jack, and at the same time, you mentioned the Boys in Green. There were so many retro rewatches that were on as well over the lockdown. I think that gave a lot of people, maybe younger generation, that bit of appreciation for Jack that maybe we didn't always kind of realize that we should have really owed to him. So I think in many ways, in that sense, it's been kind of a positive that he kind of got, or they showed a rerun of kind of his time in charge and how people should really put a bit of respect on the name. Not that they don't, but I always hear the argument now. Oh well, he underachieved with Ireland, but we were ranked fifth in the world. For football, for such a small nation. And I get okay, we had a lot of you know English-born players who just decided to play for Ireland, but majority of them put the shift in, and a lot. Yeah, okay, but um, some of our best homegrown players have been our best have been homegrown. Giles, Robbie and Roy Keane, Paul McGrath. Even though actually he was born in London, but
He grew up here. For me, he's but like he's
yeah, exactly.
yeah
But what I'm saying is like, if someone has an English accent, it's kind of frowned upon if they play for
yeah.
Ireland. That kind of annoys because that's still the case now. Like if anyone has any sort of an English accent, they're kind of looked upon as they're not really Irish. Um, Even though Jack himself was English, and it's crazy because I've been on listening to so many podcasts yesterday, over the weekend, today, BBC, Football Daily, and all these podcasts, and everybody that I know, even on Sky Sports, they were doing a minute silence there for him. That's how highly regarded he
Yeah,
was. He won the World Cup with England, and he was such a successful manager for Middlesbrough. He
Sheffield
managed,
Wednesday.
yeah, he managed, I think, Newcastle for a little bit as
Newcastle
well.
for a season, yeah, but he got promotion with Middlesbrough and Sheffield Wednesday. And as you just touched on there, like with England, like he's an English football legend. Like he's part of the only ever England team to win a World Cup. Like how many so-called golden generations they had since, and he's literally one of only 11 men in that country to have the ultimate prize in football. He's an absolute legend over there as well, and it's just great to see the tributes from all the channels, from Sky Sports News, from Match Today over the last couple of days. I just really hope he gets the fantastic send-off that he deserves. Just go back to your point there as well about you're saying that some people feel that he underachieved. I think how could you say that? Like he took over us and we had little or no football pedigree. We'd never qualified for a major tournament. We had a couple of hard luck stories and near misses as we've touched on over the last couple of weeks with Johnny Giles and Owen Hand. But like to achieve what he achieved at Ireland, and we've not really done anything at the same level since. Mick got us to the last 16 in the World Cup in 2002, and again was a little bit unlucky that we didn't get a bit further. But apart from that, like as well, and even as well, I was just thinking, I think it could be a good challenge for the two of us maybe now to do over the course of the game. Like I still think it's myself the other day. It's like if you could put an 11 together of the best Irish players to play under Jack that were born in this country, you still have an unbelievable team. I was just thinking to myself, you'd have Packy in goals, you'd have Dennis Irwin right back, you'd have Kevin Moran and David O'Leary, or well, maybe Paul McGrath. You could pick or choose there at centre back. You'd have Staunton left back. You could have a midfield three of Brady, Whelan, and like I said, you could put McGrath in there as well, or Moran, or I think even obviously, of course, Roy Keane, sorry, as well, put in there. And then obviously
Oh, you
have
have
like
to have Roy in there, yeah.
yeah, I have to have Roy in it there. So you can have him in the front three, or in the middle three, and you can have a front three of maybe Brady, Stapleton, and Quinn. I know maybe it might be lacking a little bit of pace up there, but you could jig around. I'm sure I've left out a couple of players there as well. You could easily throw in, but like we've always had really good players before Jack came over, and I think he just took us that extra little bit of a level. I think John Giles described it perfectly. He popularised the sport in Ireland. He just took us to that other level. And like I said, everything that's come since is because of Jack. Like he made that a little bit easier. Getting to the 2002 World Cup, like there was a lot of crucial stages and that, but it was a little bit easier because we had the experience and we knew what it was like to get there, and that made it a little bit easier. And even though we weren't around for Jack's time, but the reason we got involved is because of the stories that we hear about Ireland. Like one of the main reasons I wanted to go to European Championships or a major tournament and see Ireland playing it was because of what the scenes and what Jack Charlton brought, and you've seen all the great memories from that, and you want to be kind of part of that as well. So he's always there as well, and he's always there in the background of Irish football because he's the first, and he's kind of been the catalyst for everything that's came since.
Yeah, definitely. And as you said, with the players and the tournaments, he brought good times to a nation when we were in dire times. I know Owen Hand has was and feels himself. He was a very unlucky as Ireland manager. We all know the stuff in Belgium about the refs being paid off and stuff like that. Never really seemed to get a break. And Jack, in fairness, was the opposite, where he actually got a break
Yeah,
and things went his way, and it changed the way people look. I mean, I don't play Ga or hurling or any. Never did. Football was the only thing I wanted to play. Still is. Um, and that was down to, I suppose, from what Jack did for my dad, because he'd have been going to all the games under Jack, and then obviously brought me. I started going when Mick was manager. Our first game was when we beat Croatia. I think it was 2-1 or 2-0. Irwin and I think Roy Keane scored on the day. I was only about 7 or 8,
this
and it
was
was,
qualifying for Euro 2000, wasn't it? Yeah,
yeah, that was my first
yeah.
ever game, and I got the bug from there, and it was just amazing. But uh, like that all stemmed from what Jack did, and we had
Goal. Sorry, just 1-0 to Southampton. Stuart Armstrong, lovely little chip across from Nathan Redmond. And yeah, it's just as I predicted. Maybe there just could be a little bit of a shock for United, although they did fall behind against Bournemouth the last day, and we seen what happened there anyway. So,
I'm a I think it's coming in now. So
are you
Nathan
watching
Redmond.
on Are you watching on television? Is it?
Ah, there it is there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm watching it on the Sky Go on the
Oh no,
PS4.
see, I have the television. Sorry, so I'm just a bit ahead of you.
No worries.
Yeah, but
Sure,
just
might as well.
before that, United actually probably should have taken the lead. Martial was 1-on-1 with Alex McCarthy. Probably just tried to be a little bit too fancy instead of just putting his foot through it. And
He made a good
McCarthy,
save.
he did make a good save. I think he tried to kind of dink it over, and we should have just put
Yeah,
his
that
boot
one,
through it.
when
Like,
you said goal, that was the bit I was at where he was trying to chip him.
all right,
But anyway, just going back to Jack. Like I think, you know, I heard so many tributes to him. Andy Reid was on the radio, BBC. John Giles was actually speaking about how influential he was and how good of a footballer he was when he was at Leeds. He said for 5 years he was the best player in what would be now known as the Premier League, obviously the old Division One. So not only was he a great player and manager, he was just seemed like a great person. I never met the man personally. He's probably the only person within the Irish football ranks. Probably haven't met, but just so highly thought of.
yeah.
What he did for Paul McGrath, he was like a dad to Paul McGrath. He used to get people to mind him, a bit like what Bobby Robson used to do for Gaza actually.
Gaza, that's right. Yeah,
So yeah, he used to get kind of people to mind him and stuff when he was a father figure to him. When obviously Paul had a lot of issues, unfortunately, with drink and other things. Um, Jack seemed to be great for him, and you can see. I think that started all the camaraderie between the Irish lads because every Irish camp now has like an unbelievable camaraderie. I think that all kind of started with Jack. To be honest
yeah,
with you, I was reading something funny about Eamon Dunphy, and it was in the Independent today, and he was talking about the way Dunphy's very critical of the team and stuff like that. He was in the bar in I think it was Russia or somewhere, or was it when we were playing Russia or something, and Mick McCarthy was there and Frank Stapleton, and he'd been bashing them, very critical of them or whatever, and Jack walked over to him at the bar and he was like, "Oh, hey, Eamon, are you by yourself?" And he's like, "Yeah." He was obviously having a pint or something. He goes, "Oh, come on, we're having dinner. You coming in there with me?" And he was like, "Ah, Jackie, you mad?" He was like, "The players go fucking mad." And then he just goes, "Ah, fuck them." And then he goes, "You're with me," and he brought them in. As soon as he walked in, Mick walked out, and so did Frank. I just thought it was gas. And then obviously the Lineker story was brilliant as well, where
yeah.
he was trying to get him to play for Ireland. He says, "I missed out on you," and he goes, "I don't think I could have played for you anyway." And then he goes, "Well, actually, my dad used to go fishing once a year to Ireland, maybe sometimes twice since he was 20." He goes, "Oh, I'd have made that work." Classic.
Yeah, because there used to be the odd slogan, if you ever seen picture drinking a pint of Guinness, Jack could pick you for Ireland. But like you touched on it there as well about him obviously being English, and of course his big, thick, strong Geordie accent will always stand out from a mile. But like literally, if you just took away his accent and just went off, like you literally would think he's Irish. Like that's the thing I love about him the most, just watching the old clips and old videos of him. Like he bought into like the Irish people so well. He got what it was like to be Irish, and like that's why I think we took him so well. He was just such an easy going lad, down to earth, genuine, working kind of class, just your typical kind of Northern English or easy kind of going. It's 1-1 now. Oh no, it's offside. Rashford's offside. Um, but he was just so easy going, and like he really was a character. He was absolutely hilarious. You listen back to some of the old videos of him. I was stumbled across one on YouTube. Say he was talking to Terry Wogan just after we played England in the qualifier for Euro '92 in Lansdowne in October that year. And
Yeah.
he was just so funny and wishing some of the stuff he kind of come out with and stuff like that. He was just an ordinary kind of folk because like when we hear like, oh, an Englishman is taking over Ireland as it was back then, like we didn't really kind of know what to expect. Like there was that sign at his first game against Wales, go home Union Jack. Like we didn't really know what to take, but I think we kind of copped on after a while. Like he's just an easy going, down to earth kind of fella. Like John Giles was saying he was a great after dinner speaker, and you could tell by that he was just so wishy and just so funny. He was kind of he really was quite different to his brother Bobby, who was kind of a more quieter lad. But no, like he said, like he treats the players with a lot of respect. He let them allow to enjoy themselves because he loved to enjoy himself as well. I heard something as well today. I was listening to the two Johnny's podcasts, and they were saying apparently his hotel room in Italia or in USA '94, he had a Guinness tap in his own hotel room. Like just I think that just sums up kind of the type of person he was, just a kind of a real character, down to earth, and really like to enjoy himself. And we bought into him, and he very much bought in to being an Irish person as well, I have to say.
Yeah, 100%. just kind of sticking on Irish people there, and I'm not sure if you've seen what McLean had said um, earlier on today on his Facebook page, but I'll read it out to you. He basically threw a wobbler, racism, and his teammates not really sticking up for him. So he said, driving back from training today while listening to Talksport discussing the vile racist comments this weekend made towards Zaha and McGoldrick on social media. Listen to their reaction of disgust at it, and rightly so for that matter, because it is horrendous and nobody should be subjected to that, and people need to be held responsible for their words and actions. What leaves a sour taste, though, in my mouth, and not only this, but with everything else of late, I receive and I have received more abuse than any other player during my 9 years in England, whether that be death threats, bullets sent in the post, birthday cards, letters, etc. This is not a cry for sympathy, but one to ask the question: what is the difference? Question mark. 12-year-old boys get 12-year-old boys get arrested for posting racial abuse online to Zaha. Again, rightly so. Has anyone ever been held accountable for mine? No. Have I ever had my abuse condemned by the media? In brackets, he put Sky Sports, Talk Sport, and newspapers. He goes, no. In fact, quite the opposite. The slightest thing that I do that might cause offence to anyone is highlighted by them. I have seen some of my fellow Irish teammates post a black square in support of anti-racism, as well as posts condemning this discrimination, and again, rightly so. Have I have I ever seen any of them post a public condemnation of the discrimination I get, which, funnily enough, is a discrimination against them also? That would be a no. Does one kind of discrimination hold a higher bearing over another act of discrimination? I would say I'm confused, but that's the wrong word, because confused means not fully understanding something. In this case, it's quite clear. And then he says, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think like a lot of things with James McLean, it's going to attract a lot of interest. Like obviously you could tell by it's something that's kind of been bugging him and been bothering him, and I think like it's something they kind of wants to get off his
I
chest.
think he's deleted it since.
Yeah, I think because I was just kind of afraid that like I could see where he's coming from and everything else like that, but I think like the kind of teammate kind of thing, he kind of seems like as if he's calling out people there, which isn't good. And I think as well, the view that a lot of people are going to take of this, it's just him looking for more attention and trying to take away from the matter that's going on. But like, I can see where he's coming from, because like he's obviously making reference to his own sectarian abuse that he receives, and obviously Neil Lennon as well is another one that has been high of that. Just as I say that Man United this time actually have equalised, Rashford this time the goal does stand. So 1-1 after 20 minutes. You'll probably see it yourself now in about a minute or two, Paul.
Yeah.
In fairness, United, the response actually since they went behind has been excellent. As they show, like I said, they went behind against Bournemouth last week, and like they went on to win that game comfortably. So they show that they have that bit of backbone about them. But just back to McLean, just back to McLean. I don't know. I kind of looked at it and I was just kind of thinking, like, yeah, I could see where you're coming from, but I just kind of thinking maybe just in this case, maybe it's just something you should have kind of kept to yourself.
Yeah, but I think, but he's probably been told the whole time to keep it to himself, and I can understand why.
Yeah,
Getting to a point where, everybody is getting behind the Black Lives Matter movement, and rightly so. But he's been calling for these types of things and kick it out to get involved, and you never hear of anything happen. And I think that's more what he means, is that, like, if a 12-year-old can get abused for racially abusing Wilfred Zaha, why can't he be arrested for abusing him, for calling him whatever he calls him?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He called him an IRA so and this and that, and a terrorist, and all these types of things, and well, threatening to kill his family as well. Surely that should be brought to the police, that his family are getting death threats, he's getting bullets sent in the post, like Neil Lennon used to get done to him as well. So
Yeah,
all these things. Sorry?
he's another man as well that like it just kind of seems to get swiped under the carpet. Like I think, like I was just kind of touching, I can get where he's coming from. He's right, like, and it does need to highlight, but I'm just kind of afraid and worried that again, the perception are going to look at this. Oh, this is just McLean looking for attention and taking away from the matter and everything else like that. Like obviously, it's not similar to like we say like the Burnley flyer over the date he had a couple of weeks ago. Like this is a genuine kind of serious matter. I think he's coming from, but I just think the teammates thing as well. I think as well that could go down like a bit of a lead balloon. Now maybe he has a point and says like he's right, like why haven't his teammates kind of stood by him a little bit more? Maybe they just don't want to get involved in these things. But then again, as he said, like they put the black squares up or the black pictures up on their Instagram. But I just think that was maybe something you kind of could have left out. I get where you're coming from. I'm kind of saying like, oh, it's bad timing, but like when is good timing to go bringing this up, and maybe when there's a little bit more attention about it, this is his time to strike the iron. Like, oh, what a goal! Complete turnaround by United, 2-1 in front. Martial,
I was still at 1-0 and passing it
yeah.
around the back here. I'm sure they'll be up the other end now in a minute. But yeah, I mean, there's such a talking point. Obviously, as well, you were just touching on before we went live there. The fixtures now coming out as well with the League of Ireland. So do you have the fixtures handy there by any chance?
I can go back into the news talk up, but I think I nearly remember them off the top of my head anyway. So it's Friday night. It's starting with Derry versus Sligo. I think that's a 5:45 kickoff, and later that evening Dundalk are playing Pats. Then on the Saturday, Shells and Waterford. That's down for 2 o'clock, and then the Shamrock Rovers are playing Sligo, if I'm correct in saying, or no, they're playing Finn Harp. Sorry, that's at 5 o'clock on the Saturday, and then I think it's Cork and Sligo on the Sunday. And just opening up here now as well. Obviously, of course, the draw was made for the
I seen
FAI
the
Cup.
extra. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
a
There was
couple of
like a lot of
interesting.
boys though.
Yeah, it's kind of you'd wonder why they wouldn't make the first round bigger and just give only a couple of buys. Like maybe give buys to team that got to semi-finals last year. So yes, the fixtures are kicking off Friday the 31st of July with Derry versus Sligo at 5:45, and later that evening at 7:45 Dundalk versus Pats, and that's live on RTE. Two games on Saturday at 2 it's Shell versus Waterford, and at 5 it's Shamrock Rovers versus Finn Harps, and then on Sunday the 2nd of August, it's Cork versus Bows. That's a 5 p.m. kickoff. And then just in the first division, 4 games on Friday the 31st, all at 7:45. Athlone versus Wexford, Bray versus Cove, Galway versus Cavan and UCD versus Longford. And then on Sunday the 2nd of August at 3 p.m., Shamrock Rovers B, I think that's what they're officially known as, or 2, versus Drogheda.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see what's gonna happen now. I think on the 20th of July they're gonna reveal whether crowds will be allowed at the games and stuff like that. So that's gonna be huge. And obviously, if media are allowed, we'll see if we're allowed to go to games, or otherwise we'll have to do watch-alongs for League of
Yeah,
Ireland games, which won't be bad, but it'll be different. But I had some people claiming that
I, there definitely will be certain media actually. Obviously, like especially if it's behind closed doors, there's definitely no reason why we couldn't be there because there's plenty of space. But even if it isn't, like you still want to be there. It's great to get out and see live football, even just for our own sake, and it's great to kind of providing the updates and entertainment as well across the social channels and letting people know what's going on. I know obviously you mentioned like the watch alongs would be great, but like I'm dying and itching and hoping that we can hopefully use advantage of our media passes and be allowed back in to see the games. The July 21, it's hard to know. The cases are like they're gone up a bit, but they're not gone mad out of control. They're still in around the 20s, which considering that we're still letting people in and out freely out of this country isn't actually that bad. Like too bad in fairness. So I still wouldn't hold off much optimism for that as well. And even if there is crowds, it's going to be social distancing, so it's going to be reduced capacities, and like season ticket holders, they're going to be given first preference and probably only preference really if that's the case.
Yeah, well, I think if you were to spread the media out across the stadium, there wouldn't be any issues. So we'll wait and see. I was just kind of the worst things we could be doing watch-alongs for that. So it's not really about
Yeah,
it's not a total negative. Basically, all I'm saying. But it'd be good to have football back. The fact that it's only 13 games is a bit of a nightmare. Um. So yeah, I mean it's nobody's real fault here. Other than the virus, and
pretty
it's
much like
yeah, but like it's kind of mad when you look back on the virus. Realistically, looking at the channel and stuff, um, we should have really been in a major decline, but it went total opposite. Whereas we started getting some of the biggest and best names that we could have imagined on the channel, and they actively now engage with our page, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Um, so kind of going, I'm looking forward to getting back now into the League of Ireland season because we had no football to talk about for months, and now it's
Yeah,
back, and now we can actually go and watch. Well, please God, we can go and watch live football again soon, and that Shell's Waterford game at 2 o'clock on a Saturday. That screams to me. I want to try get to that. That'd be a
yeah.
good game.
Just looking at there, hopefully I'll be able to get to Dundalk, Pats on
Gary
the
will be
Friday.
there, I'd say.
Yeah, just obviously because I think the last bus them leaves doesn't leave and train leaves Dundalk at 9:30, so that's obviously out of the question. Just I normally work a lot of Saturdays and think I'm down to work that weekend. So if I don't get to that game, it'll probably be one of the first division games like Bray maybe on the Friday night. But just also I think as well, I think this is actually a golden opportunity for the League of Ireland coming back in August as well because the Premier League is going to be finished up by that stage. La Liga is going to be finished up at that stage. And that weekend, it comes back as the last weekend of Serie A. Now, I know the Champions League and the Europa League comes back then the following weekend, but that's not going to be as frequent as then games. You're not going to have as many games per day, or you're not going to have a game every day. Like it's only one-off ties, and they're only going to be played across 2 or 3 days. So it is a golden opportunity with the League of Ireland with not that much high-profile football on to kind of get a new audience, to get more people tuned in and watching the league and everything else, and kind of brand it and put it out there. Because, like I said, yes, there will be Champions League and Europa League, but that's only going to be on 1 or 2 days a week. And try and market and target to avoid clashing within games as well. And of course, another thing as well, which is always an issue with the League of Ireland, when you're in such a small country, trying to compete with other sports. Rugby isn't coming back until the end of August, and it's only the inter-provincials playing against each other. And GA is just a club. The inter-county is not back until October, so there won't be as much of. Obviously, there will be a bit of an appetite because everyone's just dying to see a GA game, even myself, like as a GA fan. But the main appetite won't be there till October with the inter-county. So this is a golden opportunity for the League of Ireland really to kind of target it, put itself out there, grab a new audience, and get more people tuned in and watching League of Ireland football.
Yeah, well, it needs to be done, but the powers that be, like you look at the FAI, their social, you know, they should be really pushing now for
Big
people to be
time, no. It's
watching
only
on their things. I
two
always see
weeks
the
2 weeks
League
for
of
yeah.
Ireland, account, which is run by the FAI, but I don't see as much kind of pushed out on it. Like, and they should have the FAI pushed it out on all their socials and links for everyone around the world to be able to watch these streams, not just in Ireland, but in England or America or Canada or Australia or wherever Irish fans may be, wherever in the world. China could be over there coaching, for example, whatever. But they need to make these streams viewable. Is that even a word? People be able to watch basically all over the world, and if that's the case, then you will get a new audience. And I think if anyone's watching this now, of the 14 people that are online watching us, now would be the best time to start getting clubs jerseys or merchandise, where it's a polo for €20 or a mug for a fiver. That money would mean a lot to the clubs at the moment. So especially if you want to get in and start supporting the club, now would probably be the best time, whether it's Shamrock Rovers or whether it's Sligo Rovers. Um, you know, now is the time. These clubs need you. Irish football needs you, and if you claim to be a football fan, an Irish football fan, then now's your chance to start getting involved and getting behind Irish football. It's never too late to start. And I think a lot of people have this fear that, if I start doing it now, all my mates will slag me saying I only started supporting Shamrock Rovers because they're doing well, or whatever. Because Shamrock Rovers is an easy club to follow right now because they've got a good model from their academy. They're successful now. They've got players like Jack Byrne in the team. It's absolutely no problem if people want to support them. Absolutely no problem. Dundalk as well. Um, you know, but the thing I love about the League of Ireland, it's a very family event. When I used to go to Shell's games as a kid, it was me, my dad, my brother, my uncle, my cousin, and all of our best friends used to come as well. And we made it. Friday night was that night that we were really looking forward to. It obviously helped at the time that Shells were doing brilliantly at the time, but we started following Shells from my granddad, who grew up around there at the time. So we had that family thing built into us, but now if people want to start getting behind clubs now, bring your family to games now. You know, if you can't find something to do on a Friday night, bring your kids to a game. Tyler Stadium's only up the road. Um, you know, or go to Talca Park or go to Richmond Park. You know, I enjoy going to Richmond Park. That's that classic ground feel to it. I'm sure you do as well, being a
Yeah,
Hearts
lovely,
fan.
lovely ground, and a couple of nice pubs around as well, which obviously supposed to be a bit different now, match the experience with that. But yeah, like even like for someone like myself who came from a GA background, like that's kind of the one things that kind of enticed me into like League of Ireland because like everyone talks about the GA, oh, it's family, it's community, there's that kind of bond. You know the players, you have that kind of personal touch. Them. It's the exact same in the League of Ireland. You see what you see at GA ground, you see the exact same thing in the League of Ireland ground on a Friday night. Like the things, just little things like you have the group of, as you said, like the group of friends, group of family members you go to the match with, even if you rock up kind of by yourself or you go with one or two, you know, 5 or 6 people there and week in, week out, and you build up that kind of bond and relationship with them was great. And like I said, you know the players. Like there's a good chance you could probably bump into them in the street and have a chat with them, or pre-COVID times you could meet them in the bar afterwards and have a pint with them and stuff like that. And there's that kind of real bond and kind of communityness and togetherness, which I just think is absolutely fantastic with the League of Ireland. And that's what, like for someone that, like about like someone's afraid and ashamed, it's like, oh, it's too late now to get in the League of Ireland. It wasn't until I kind of came up to college in Dublin when I was 18 that I started going to games and started really properly following the league. And like I've absolutely adored it over the last 5 or 6 years.
Well, I think there's a thing as well. Like I stopped going to games around um I stopped going to games around when I was about 17, and people, because all my Friday nights were kind of nights where we get to a stage where we were discovering girls and going out. Friday night was our night. You know, as soon as school was finished, we were out on a Friday, and then like I think at that point Shells had been relegated, and all my family members had stopped going. My dad used to still go, but like I think getting back into it then, I think people are like, oh, well, I can't start going back now because then I'll be looked upon as a plastic fan or whatever like that. If you go back supporting the club now, the club would want it more than ever. Like when I got back from Canada, that was the first thing I made a point of doing. So like, I'm going to start getting back into it. Obviously, then the channel started. But, you know, getting to games, then you realise like how much you miss it. So if you start getting people back that way, and if some of them start going, I don't know. See, a lot of people have their mindset has changed from this lockdown. Lots more people are kind of looking at different avenues and kind of changing their lives. You look at me, I stopped drinking, for example. So there's probably people out there who are like, all right, well, they have a different mentality now and they want to start taking up a new hobby. Like I started taking up running. But people might want to take up a new hobby, going to live games, and if they can, if as you mentioned, that the rugby heads and the GAA heads, they might not get a chance to go to a live sports game, and they might want to go to a football game, whether it's down the country or whatever, and that would be fantastic to get a whole new audience. And even if they're watching on TV, you know, that these are all things, but people need to tap into it more, and that's what I think they need to keep on doing that with the schools. I know Bows do a great job of it, where they get the players to go into the schools, and then they sort them out, they give them a spot to play, a half time or whatever. And these are the things that when you're a kid you remember these things, and you always go back then in your mind when you're older, and you get, you know, I played in Daily Mount there when I was 7 or 8. You know what I mean? It's something that always sticks with you then for the rest of your life. And then they end up getting the buzz then and seeing people scoring goals, and you know, players become heroes for them. And these are the types of things that we need every club start tapping into. You know.
Big time, yeah. Just like, you know, you mentioned there about going out on Friday nights and everything else like that, and that could be sometimes something that puts off people from going to League of Ireland matches. Like socialising Friday nights and everything else, that just mightn't quite be the same anymore. Like you're not going to see a nightclub open this year, I highly doubt it. Like so, people could be looking for new ways to kind of socialise and mix on Friday nights, and like that could be it. Like obviously, health and safety and crowd permission, like, and this could be a golden opportunity to tap into it and start getting it and go and see a live game. And I think as you mentioned as well, like even though it's great and brilliant having like the Premier League back and all that, like, but we can't go to these games. And like this is an opportunity. It's on your doorstep. It's only 10 or 15 euro. I think the appetite would really kind of be there as well. Just mention as well, you know, about will these games be behind all closed doors? Not just kind of going by the fixture times there, particularly Derry versus Sligo, the 5:45 on a Friday evening, would very much suggest that game is definitely going to be behind closed doors. Obviously, Derry, of course, government-wise falls in under Stormont and the UK government. I think they have a ban altogether um, on playing sports behind closed doors. So that game definitely will be behind closed doors. Plus, even as well, looking at the FA Cup draw, I know there's only 3 ties to kind of get ourselves excited about, but there are a couple of crunch ties there. Obviously, from a Pat's point of view, trying away to Finn Harps, that's going to be a tricky enough one. Finn Harps away is always a difficult game, but they had started the season quite well. I think they're due to that's actually Pat's next game after Dundalk in the league, but it was going by the old scheduling if they're sticking to that. And I suppose Cork and Longford will be an interesting one because Longford are going well at the top of the first division. Cork are struggling, and like at the moment they're probably on an even par with each other. And obviously there's the whole Neil Finn factor as well.
Yeah. Well, we all know who was online giving them abuse there earlier on, but I think the League of Ireland's so small that managers are going to move around to different clubs and stuff like that, and I don't think anyone from Longford would really say it to him. Do you know what I mean?
Nah.
Anyone who has any sort of respect, anyway, wouldn't really be saying anything to him. I feel as though, uh, you know, with Cork, you don't know what you're gonna get, especially now because you don't know who's. I seen Oliver's back on loan, so the Cork lads will be happy enough with that, having him back there because he's obviously a quality player. Haven't seen a lot of him, but he's obviously a quality player by the way they talk about him. He's a
I
real
seen him
fan's
against
favorite.
I seen him against Pats that night in Richmond. He's probably one of the few bright glimmers from a Cork point of view that night, the last game before the league went into shutdown. Um, yeah, he's a big, strong, powerful, physical influence. I think definitely, like from what he will learn to the Arsenal and playing in Cup under 23 games, you can definitely tell that stands to him.
Yeah, and that's yeah. So I think Cork will be too strong for them anyway. But to be rattling abuse or whatever at him would be. I just think that's nonsense.
I think it's just the timing of it probably just wasn't the greatest. Obviously, long for going for a promotion push, but like club like Cork comes knocking, one of the biggest clubs in Ireland over the last couple of years. Like you're not going to go turn that down any chance. And
Well, he
Neil Fenn,
played for them as well, so he has
yeah, he
an
played for them as well
affiliation.
as you touched on. Like Neil Fenn could be looking at it, right. If I don't take this Cork job now, it could be a while before a big club comes knock on the door because like Pats have just got a new manager at that stage. Like Bowles are certainly in no position to go change, and Rovers aren't. Dundalk, Derry, they're all happy. Like so, there's not as if there's going to be a lot of movement. I know obviously Alan Reynolds just left Waterford there, but no one definitely would predict that this time last year or 10 months ago. Like so, you can't kind of blame him. That it's. I know you might maybe slightly disagree in this, obviously, because you have a soft spot. Well, I have a soft spot for Celtic too, but you have more of a soft spot for them than me. But it's a little bit similar to the Brendan Rodgers kind of situation, kind of there as well. That in a sense that like he's achieved all he kind of can with one club, that kind of way.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's the case with Fenn. He may have gotten along for one more
Yeah,
season
that's
this
yeah,
season there, but yeah, I get it. Like he had a chance to move to a club that are already in the Premier Division. He has an affiliation with them, and he probably felt right for him at the time. And
yeah,
yeah, look, he's been unlucky. Everybody's been unlucky because of the pandemic. It's just the way things have been. But look, give him time and see how he gets on. People were
yeah.
trying to get rid of Ian Morris after 4 games or whatever.
That's right.
Nonsense.
Yeah, I think as well he would have looked at the Cork situation very similar to when he took over Longford because Longford had gone into free fall after the relegation from the Premier Division 2016. They were really struggling in that 2017 season in the first division. He came in bit by bit, he got them there and kind of started building them back up and has been a lot more competitive now in the first division, back knocking on that Premier Division door. And that's what Cork are at the moment. They've gone from being in a position of being top dogs in Ireland regularly in Europe to now starting to look over their shoulder a little bit and has a bit of a rebuilding job if he wants to get Cork certainly at least back up to challenging in Europe inside the next year or two as one step along the way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just surprised tonight that there's hardly anybody sending in any comments. We've had people online and watching, but no one getting involved in the comments. It's a bit crazy. Some nights we have people and they're non-stop writing messages or whatever, but there's only been 2 people have only left their comments. So if you're watching now, watching live, get your comments in as we're talking through the game.
Yeah, just come up to half time now. What 40, just under 42 minutes gone. Like that was a great. It was a great start for Southampton getting the goal, but it's kind of like as if they poked the bear and they just woke Manchester United up, like, and they really kind of turned it on since
Yeah, long way to go now
gone.
to keep
Long
it
way to
really.
go, yeah, yeah. But like in general, like I touched on it there, like I've been very impressed with Manchester. Even before lockdown, they were kind of showing signs. Since that winter break, when they won that game against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, they've looked kind of a new team. And I know they're kind of showing glimpses under Solskjaer when he first took over last year with the honeymoon period. They had then a couple of wins against Spurs and Chelsea back to back before Christmas. Like they were kind of able to produce a good result here and there, but were never consistent enough. But now they seem to be getting that consistency. And I'm kind of looking at like going forward, challenging for a title, which is what Manchester United want to be. I feel they can get another centre back in because Lindelof still doesn't convince me. I still think he's a little bit unconvincing. I prefer Maguire out of the two of them. I think if he can get a good partner behind him, the two of them can blossom. And even though the front three is exciting and Greenwood has come on leaps and bounds this season, looks fantastic, but he's still a kid. He still needs protecting. I still think they need an out and out kind of goal scorer. And I think someone like Jimenez from Wolves or Kane from Spurs, even with his injury problems, if they can get them two areas, definitely in 2 years' time, I think they could be serious title contenders because there still is a bit of a gap to make up on Liverpool and Manchester City.
Yeah, well, I think as well, like United need to do it now because Wolves are getting stronger and all these other teams are getting stronger. Chelsea will be strong next season as well.
Yeah,
So I think they need to. They do need to get their act together now. I think Bruno Fernandes was a great sign to get in. Matic has really upped his game. Pogba looks like the Pogba of old. Not that you know, he doesn't really do it for me. Just because I'm probably sound like probably Roy Keane or Graham Souness
but
here, but I just wish he'd.
yeah,
I just wish he'd take more games by the
yeah,
scruff a bit more, like De Bruyne does with with City, and then I would see him in that kind of that mold. But you can see flashes of his brilliance, like where
yeah,
he just glides past players like they're not even there. But see there, Matic just winning the ball back there again. He just wins the ball, tidies up, gives it to Bruno or Paul Pogba, and they just get the ball moving up the other end. And on the counter attack, they're absolutely awesome. Like with Greenwood, Rashford, and Martial, and the Southampton are just fouling them all over the place here. Just I think trying to keep the score down for half time.
yeah. I think actually with the Pogba situation, like you're actually in a similar situation to what Liverpool were with Coutinho. I think if the right money comes in, sell him and let him go because like they could get easily two or three players in for the money they could get for him. Like look at what Liverpool done with Coutinho. Don't get me wrong, like a brilliant player and had these fantastic moments, but like they got Van Dijk and Allison in for that money, and like they were already strong in Coutinho in the attacking position. I think United are in that midfield sector as well, really strong. That they can use that money to further strengthen. So I think like if the money comes in for Pogba when the right offer comes in from, I think they should cash in on him like what Liverpool done with Coutinho. And I think as well with the Bruno Fernandes, like I think they realise just going for these so-called big names, world-class players, and just expect that they'll come in and everything will click and just go around them. It doesn't sometimes work like that. I think Solskjaer has realised, right, we need to stop doing that. And like, don't get me wrong, Fernandes is a fantastic player, but he wasn't someone that like you would have instantly thought of at the top of your head, like when Liverpool got Firmino or Salah or Mane. And I think they've kind of started to look at that a little bit and think like maybe we need to start going down that approach a bit more.
Yeah, well, it's well as that. Yeah, as you said, he's signed players that aren't superstars.
Yeah,
Maybe that he will maybe make them superstars. Like I touched on Klopp there a few. Might have been on the Premier League show saying, hang on. Uh, we'll go through that comment in a sec. But I think the way Klopp has made players like world class, like when Mane came to Liverpool, he was a very good player. He wasn't world class though, was he? And I'd say the same probably for Firmino. Good, wasn't world class at the time. And Salah, very good, wasn't world class at the time. But you probably say the three. Well, no, you would say the three of them are now. Um, Jordan Henderson as well. You probably putting that Van Dijk. So a lot of players there that Klopp has done that for. So can Solskjaer do that with some of them? Um, well, he's making Martial look very good. I know he didn't
yeah,
sign him. Rashford's looking very good. Greenwood's looking very good. Pogba and Bruno. I think Bruno Fernandes was good, just never really given a run in a good side. He was at Sporting, obviously, and never. No, I don't think he was willing to take a chance on him till United did. I think Spurs were looking at him, but never actually, got the ball fully rolling on that. Even Matic's performance has gone up a level. Like everyone was talking about how bad he was under Mourinho and stuff like that. He was never bad before that. You know what I mean? But Dave's LFC chats, how you doing? He asks, who would have the money for Pogba, especially in these COVID times? I don't think he's going to go anywhere at the moment. He seems quite happy now because he has someone in midfield who he could look upon, and I think Roy Keane said it recently. It's the fact that someone like Bruno Fernandes can come in there, knock the ball around, do whatever he wants. Then he doesn't have to do as much, or he doesn't have to shine as much
Yeah, it
because
just
he
has to be the
has.
main player anymore, the go-to man. I think that suits him. Like,
Yeah, and I think that's what Keane said as well. I'm just gonna fix this camera over here.
there is a good point that Dave makes there in the comments about like who would have the money from. Like, obviously, like when I was saying that, like I was expecting the Manchester United are firmly going to make a loss from because of the money that they paid for. I think they were always going to make a loss from January, even if they sold them, like as they've been threatening to leave, and that was the rumor for the last couple of years, especially with now. But I know obviously Barcelona, but they've never even linked to January. They obviously have to take pay cuts and stuff like that. You still probably think that Real Madrid would have the money, or PSG would probably be two clubs that would still very much have the money from. But it's just gone half time there anyway. It's actually been a quite enjoyable game. It's certainly been a lot more enjoyable than the North London derby was yesterday, which I found a very boring game. But no, it's been good pace, good intensity, quite lively. Like Southampton was still giving a goal. Like, that's one thing you'll always get with Southampton. They're not that they're set up for a way with their pace and everything like the Ings and Redmond. They will have a goal with you, and I think there could be maybe two or three more goals in the second half.
Yeah, Armstrong's been quite good as well. But United for life there has asked me what team you do support in the Premier League.
Oh, I'm Liverpool, and if you're also asking as well for Paul, he's the other half of Merseyside, so we wouldn't have a much of affection for Manchester.
I actually don't have any real issue. The only club I dislike are Liverpool, and that's obviously through
Just
rivalry.
Yeah, I was just going to like obviously Liverpool ever or Liverpool United obviously just predominantly just more so because of their rivalry and their history. It's not really a geographical reason, because if there was, Everton and City hate each other. Like, even though they are in the same neck of the woods, it's only about 30 minutes from each other in the northwest of England. But in general, what is Everton's kind of stance towards like Manchester United? Like, I wouldn't have any major kind of disliking towards Manchester City. Like, I know there's a bit of a rivalry build up over the last while, but I think the fact is, well, they still don't have a lot of fans in Ireland. It still kind of makes it a little bit hard to kind of get fully caught up in the rivalry as much as you would with Manchester United, or even especially with Everton, who have a good fan base in Ireland.
Who are you asking me? Do we have a problem with though? City
I'm,
or United?
I'm asking you with United, like, is there a thing with Everton United, or is it just that you kind of have a mutual like for each other because you both hate Liverpool?
It's kind of like that for me, but I think
Yeah,
a lot of people who live in Liverpool don't like Manx, as they call them. So
yeah,
they have. See, I grew up with follow like I get abuse off Liverpool fans more than anyone. Growing up, because Liverpool were just always better, still are, and Everton are fairly cursed by Liverpool. There's obviously the bad history there in the 80s as well. Everton getting banned for something they didn't do and getting punished. But like with United, my friends were happy to see Everton win, and I was happy for them to see United. One of my other best friends was Arsenal as well, so it was either United or Arsenal. And as long as one of them were winning the league and Liverpool weren't, I was quite happy because Everton were brutal at the time. Not that they're any better now, mind you, but yeah, it was just that type of thing, and you know, I was just kind of brought up that way. Whereas didn't really mind United as long as they were winning more things than Liverpool. It meant Liverpool weren't winning anything, and that's why at the moment. But now like I'm grown up and I have my kind of own opinions on it. You can't fault Liverpool for what they've done. You look back to where Roy Hodgson was managing, and things just looked so bad for them that
yeah. That was the
how they
lowest, I
turned
think.
that around.
Yeah,
Especially when you think of Dalglish he brought in Suarez, Carroll, and I think Henderson. It's mad to think that of all the
that's
three
right.
that,
Yeah,
that survived that time. I know Suarez was brilliant in the time he was there, but Henderson's still there. And look at what he's doing now under Klopp, and what they've done in the last 4 years has been unbelievable. I think you're in the Europa League final, two Champions League finals, and have won the league. Like, it's ridiculous if you think about it. That's all down to Klopp and what he's done, and the you know the infrastructure that he has built and what he's brought to the club. I love a manager like Klopp. Like, although, like, I'm happy with Carlo Ancelotti at the moment. He hasn't had a chance to bring in anybody who he really wants yet, and time will tell. But I think if they don't back him, if I was him, I'd just walk, because yesterday, for example, was a shambles, absolute shambles.
Yeah, I think like the Roy Hodgson era was the lowest of the low. I think for Liverpool, like being bottom of the league in October, being in the courts, potentially facing administration, winding up order like as a 14-year-old kid, that was kind of very scary and a lot to kind of get your head around as well. But like from a Liverpool point of view, being in Ireland, like Manchester United are always kind of like the most hated club because they're probably the most other popular club in Ireland after Liverpool. But like when you go to Merseyside as well and see Liverpool as well, it doesn't actually change, despite the fact that like Everton are right on your doorstep. There still is more of a hatred for Manchester United. It's still, even
That's
among
just down to
scouts,
success, though.
yeah, it still sounds. I think like I know I'd agree with you. Like I think you touched on like that Liverpool fans would look down on Everton kind of large, especially kind of my generation and younger. Like I think in fairness, a lot of older Liverpool fans would respect Everton because, as you touched on, they were the next best team in Liverpool in England after Liverpool in the 80s, or very probably even for a while were on a par with Liverpool, if not better as well at times. But
Actually, they were. Actually, they won the league a few times.
yeah, so like is it sorry, it's just kind of lost what I was saying there for a second. But yeah, as it touched on there, but I think like as well there is kind of a bit of a dislike as well between Scouse um and Manx as well. And I think as well Liverpool and Everton fans in general, like it was always traditionally known as the friendly derby. I know for a while there it had the most red cards of any game in the Premier League, but like there does kind of seem as if there isn't that much hatred or kind of
Well,
just
that kind of comes down to Hillsborough
yeah,
and the fact that the
certainly a lot more certainly a lot more than Heysel anyway.
yeah, but the Everton fans, they got behind um the justice for the '96. They got
Yeah,
behind, fighting the sun and what they did for the city. Because a lot of people in Liverpool, the families are divided. Don't forget, like, you could
yeah,
have an Everton fan who has a Liverpool fan of a brother, um, and one of them could have been killed in Hillsborough. And that's the reason why, as an Everton fan, they hate the Sun, for example. And then that
yeah.
all kind of transpired, and rightly so. I wouldn't even buy the Sun over here,
Oh,
because of it.
it's a rubbish paper anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good journalists over here do good work for Irish football and stuff like that. But like, I remember even I put it up on our socials before, and uh, you know, people lost the head at me. They were like, "Oh, that was a massive own goal." But even if it was the Irish one, just hate the Sun in general.
Yeah, but I think even like you touched on there, like there was a good documentary on BT Sport last year, two tries by Liverpool and Everton in the 80s. I think even before Hillsborough, I know obviously Heysel would have caused a bit of tension because we denied Everton and every other club in England the chance to compete in Europe for a couple of years. But there still was that kind of togetherness between Liverpool and Everton. Like even you look back at the old clips of fans going on buses to the cup finals together for the League Cup. I think it was the 83, 84 and the FA Cup final in 86. But I think it was because like Liverpool in general as a city was looked down upon by the English government. Like it was as the word
Yeah, Maggie Thatcher.
as John Aldridge said himself in the documentary last night, Liverpool was shited upon. And I think that kind of brought Liverpool and Everton fans together. Like they were in this kind of together. There's that great
Us
picture as
against the
well.
world.
Yeah, there's that great picture as well of Liverpool and Everton players from that League Cup final, the drawn game, uh, taken together, the two of them like linking arms to each other in the huddle together, kind of showing that while we're divided by football, we're united as a city and we stand by this. And again, like you go back to like with Hillsborough, like all that, like it could an Everton supporter. There's a good chance he had some sort of relative that was killed in Hillsborough. It's the same as well, like that whole thing about being bond together. There's a good chance that like your brother or your mate who's an Everton fan or a Liverpool fan, and he's just after getting unemployed and laid off and everything else like that. Like it was a really really grim place Liverpool to be in the 80s. It was like very similar to when Jack took over Ireland in the mid 80s, height of recession, nothing to be optimistic and positive about, and football and music was the only things that were bringing that city together.
Football brings hope. Football
Yeah,
brings hope to everybody. Football brings friends to everybody. Football brings jobs, opportunities Football brings a lot to people that people don't realize. Like you think of joining a football team, how many friends you make a social club you make, or social crew that you make. So many things go into football. The best trips of your life might be football orientated because your team might have won whatever game it was or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you were lucky enough to be at the Euros, which I'm sure that was absolutely amazing. You know, so these types of things, like football, as I say, it brings hope, and I think
Yeah,
more people kind of need to realize that. But like sport does as well, like sport in
yeah.
general. To be fair, not
Whatever
just
whatever
football.
you're into, like,
Yeah, but I just like I'm quite biased towards football.
yeah,
I just love football more than anything else, and I just think it's the best sport because that's just how I feel about it. But I can see why
yeah,
people like other sports and stuff like that. Like I'd still watch GAA and stuff like that and go to their games, but I wouldn't like. I would never go to a rugby game, for example, or I've been to basketball, I suppose, but I was never really mad into it. I've been to hockey over in Canada and stuff like that. But as far as atmosphere and how much it means to the fans and everything like that. Now there's all idiot fans with every sport you get, and football probably have the worst, but it can also have the best as well.
yeah. I think, like, touch on with sport there as well. Like, I think for our generation and for people like us that are too young to remember the Jack Charlton days, like probably the best moment in memory that we would have probably was Casey Taylor winning gold in like 2012. Like that's the only time since Michael Carruth in '92 Ireland won a gold medal. Like, so, like I've seen four Olympic games. And that's the only time Ireland won a gold medal. And we talk about the tension, and you've seen it there with the penalty shootout and the suspense leading up to David O'Leary penalty. Like the way to see Casey won or not, that was like almost equivalent to it. Like, so it's just in general what kind of like what sport can bring to you as well. And like in fairness, like I wouldn't be a massive rugby fan, but like in fairness to the rugby boys, they've given us some great days over the last 10 or 15 years with the Grand Slams. And it's just like even Shane Lowry last year with the golf as well. That was absolutely brilliant as well. Like sport in general can just bring so much joy and happiness and just give you so much in life, as you touched on, like social outlets, kind of just something to be optimistic, to be positive about. Like that's one of the main things about Italia 90. It put Ireland on the map. Like suddenly tourism in this country boomed because people realize, oh yeah, that's a little country that go to football now. Like,
Yeah, and look, it. You spoke to. I think I know Conor McGregor has all his issues at the moment, and people don't know whether he's guilty or not of that other stuff. But in terms of someone who's gone out and done it, and Katie Taylor is the proper role model because she's never been in trouble and stuff like that.
yeah,
But in terms of going out, winning it, and doing it in style, Conor McGregor, I suppose, is another person that gave people hope when, especially in his early days when he was going out winning things and making history, and had probably no right to win these titles. Again, gave Irish people hope as well. Now I know in recent years he's done himself absolutely zero favours, but you can't say that. And not that you were, but I'm just saying in a general sense, people seem to be knocking him. Like I think you're innocent to proving guilty, and till I hear he's found guilty in the other stuff, you can't really say anything till you hear about it, in my opinion. But I think what he's done in terms of MMA, like is unbelievable, and even to get the fight against Floyd and stuff like that as well. He's really put Ireland on the map in that sense. Done himself no favors in recent times, and I'll admit that. I think money got to his head a good bit. But anyway, we move on away from that. We got Dave's LFC chat asking us what League of Ireland team we follow. I'll tell him I follow Shelburne Football Club, Ian Morris, Red Army. So make sure if you are, because I know you're a big Liverpool fan, Dave, if you don't follow a League of Ireland team, make sure you got yourself a nice Shells jersey to add to your Liverpool collection. Jared, do you want to take it away?
or you could just get yourself another red jersey from a team in Dublin, the south side of the Liffey, St. Pat's in Inchicore. Great club.
So there you are, Dave. Who do you follow? You may already you may already have
Yeah,
a team. Um, he also says sport can lift a nation. Yes, it definitely can, and that's why I go back to what, like, I know this is, we're talking football here, but that's what I mean about McGregor in his early days,
yeah,
2015 and stuff like that. He did. Everyone had hope. Everyone was like, Conor McGregor, he's this thing that we have to latch on to. We're a small nation and we're not as highly thought of and highly regarded around the world. Katie Taylor, Conor McGregor, who have always been known to have good fighters and stuff like that. But the fact that they were out representing the country at the time, Katie Taylor is the biggest star though for me. I mean, she does nothing wrong. She doesn't get herself in any mess. She comes into the media when she has to. She goes out of the media when the time is right. And
Yeah,
whoever she has doing her PR is doing a great job. I
yeah.
mean, she's got sponsors. She's got Eddie Hearn there. You know, she's got she's got a ridiculous PR team, but she's just a good person. That's what it seems like.
And even as well, like 2012, like with all about the great times that Jack achieved and everything else like that. But like for us, just to qualify for them tournaments is brilliant. Anything else after that was a bonus.
Yeah,
Like let's be brutally honest. Like when Casey went to London in 2012, she was our main hope of gold, and we all would have been quite disappointed. And the fact that she was able to just cope and handle that pressure in the way that she did was just an absolute. Just tells a lot about like the character and the person that she is and everything else. Like that. But like Conor McGregor as well, like I forgot to mention there as well. I think as well the thing that kind of stood out to me the most about Conor McGregor was like to become the top of his sport in the country is not that big as well. And the way that he kind of turned his life around as well, because he wasn't really he said himself, like I think he was on an apprenticeship, electrician
yeah,
apprenticeship.
plumber.
Yeah, plumber, like he wasn't that much and he's like how many people out there like could be just sitting at home doing nothing and kind of like, oh, I should give this a go, give it a lash. He decided to do that and he just excelled at it and he turned his life around. Obviously I know the money and the fame and certain little things like that. I don't really kind of like to get into that because like, if we just talk about him as a sports person, what he's achieved, he's definitely the best that we've had in the last 5 or 10 years.
Recent times,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Like
I'd say
so, yeah,
it's annoying in some ways as well though because all of our kind of the biggest kind of stars we'd look upon, they all have their slight flaws. Like you look at Roy Keane, walking out in Saipan, that was his kind of flaw. Then you have McGregor, all the stuff that's going on legally with him at the moment, and all the other stuff he did as well, punching the outlet, stuff like that. So that kind of puts a mark on his, a kind of stain on his record then, or his kind of legacy in a way. Then you look at the only one who actually probably hasn't is Robbie Keane. But Paul McGrath, he had his drink troubles and stuff like that, having affairs and stuff like that. Kind of felt sorry for him. He was kind of, he was an orphan for so long, and then he kind of discovered football around the age of 14 and was just absolutely unbelievable. Talk to any Irish player that played with him and just say he's the best player that's ever played. And
yeah,
he had half a knee or something at the time when he was playing in some of them games that he was playing with the teams. And my God, I would have loved to see Paul McGrath in his prime.
yeah, it would have been a sight to behold, especially that Italy game from Giant Stadium '94. I think that's the one that everyone kind of seems to reminisce and talk about the most. Just to go back to what you were saying there about Everton, is actually something I meant to ask you on the last kind of watch long, but just the way things went, we kind of ran out a bit of time. Like you're very optimistic about Ancelotti. I know yesterday was a big disappointment for Everton. I thought like the second half they just kind of gave in too easy, and the last couple of games they've just kind of dipped off a little bit. But like it's been a long time since Everton have got one over in Liverpool. I know there's been a lot of draws at Goodison and those cagey games, but Ancelotti is one of them few managers out there that actually has a really good record against Klopp, especially with Napoli, and he can even add that draw at Goodison now a couple of weeks ago to that. Does that give you optimism, hope that in them games coming forward next season that you can finally get one over us and get a victory against Liverpool in 10 years?
Um, I'm not really concerned about getting one up over Liverpool. I would rather try and aim to finish in a top four position, top six position, and then focus on that afterwards. My sole focus would be yes, it's nice to have bragging rights and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
I would rather, and I think Carlo would rather, would rather finish as high up in the league as possible, build on that. But it's a mentality thing, and the players that are there at the moment, they have a poor mentality. They can't get themselves up for games like Liverpool. I mean, how many of the last three games have the commentator said towards the end? Or Jamie Carragher has probably said Everton won't have a better opportunity to win a Merseyside derby than this. He said it in the last three games at Goodison, and one of them was obviously when the kids played, and then the two games in the league since then where Everton just can't score, and that's been a serious problem. And they don't seem to have someone who can pop up and score like Richarlison. Okay, he can score goals, but he can't score every single goal. He needs help around him. He's the only one who kind of gets himself into the good positions. Dom was doing it before lockdown, but he seems to have gone back to his own old ways. Sorry. I think Carlo still has a lot of work to do with him, and I think he's the right man for him. I think Big Dunk working with him has helped him this season too. But it's the midfield that's the problem, and it's no energy in there. There's so many poor players. Gomez doesn't look like the player he was 2 seasons ago because he got that injury from Son and Aurier recently before the break. So he just looks like he can't run. Tom Davis, it must be the slowest 21-year-old, 22-year-old I've ever seen. He just can't get around the pitch. It's alarming because he looks like a 36-year-old in midfield. He looks like Gareth Barry running around. When Gareth Barry was obviously 36, but and then Delph, he's a sick note, and then I like Gordon, the young lad Gordon coming through, but he's nowhere near proven or anything like that. He's just raw and he can run and he has energy. Iwobi's useless. Sigurdsson's useless. There's a lot of dead wood there. I go back to like Liverpool under Hodgson. We're kind of at that period now where we are in a series in transition, and we were in a series of transition when Koeman took over too, and he bought Davy Klaassen, Wayne Rooney, Gylfi Sigurdsson. They bought Vlasic, all played number 10 and blew a load of money, which, even with Spurs, when they saw Gareth Bale, they blew a load of money, but then the next season they got it right. They got the recruitment right.
Yeah.
We've been going 4 years with poor recruitment. And as much as I like Marcel Brands, and he's probably brought in two really good players in Lucas Digne and Richarlison, you could probably question his other signings, to be fair. And he's a job there. Iwobi as well, absolutely shocking. I'd say
Yeah, like
Arsenal.
he wasn't even good. He was barely good enough to be a fringe player at Arsenal. I think like if Everton really wants to be kind of like kicking on a little bit, like they need to be looking for a little bit better than that. What about Sidibe? Would you be a fan if Everton were to sign him on a permanent deal?
No, I don't think he's good enough. I think Coleman's better. He's just faster than Coleman. I think it's the only reason he plays certain games. If they have quick wingers, sometimes Sidibe will play ahead of Coleman. But Coleman far better defensively. He was poor yesterday. I'm not going to lie. He was very bad yesterday. But who wasn't? He came out afterwards and addressed it. I'd like to see him address it on the pitch because actions speak louder than words. I liked what he had to say. He was brutal and honest. But yeah, not that he was the sole reason we lost, because Pickford again, another player I'd sell, laughing when they're 2-0 down, making a horrendous or a blunder, and then catching the ball just before it went over the line, and then laughing to himself.
Yeah.
2-0 down, like, what are you doing? He seems to have this ongoing thing where he thinks he's hilarious because he makes a save after making a mistake, and Everton fans are sick of him. Everton fans are sick of a lot of things. Sidibe, I'd probably keep him as a backup because I think we can get him for like 12 million, but I don't think he's good enough. And it's funny because at the start of the season I thought he was really good. He was obviously, I think he was a World Cup winner. He's a France international like Luca Digne on the left hand side, so he has some sort of quality. You know what I mean? But he's not. He's not top dollar. I'd rather get a top class right back in and have Seamus than have a Sidibe and Seamus, if that makes sense. I still think Seamus, if he's pushed to it, he can come in whenever and do a really good job either way. I still think he's up at the top tier of right backs in the Premier League, but when you're surrounded by players like Michael Keane, who's very slow, he's bound to be found out a couple of times, especially if he's going forward.
I was just a chance there for United, but just took a deflection out for a corner. Yeah, just with Sidibe, I think the biggest thing that will stand to him like that, I think a lot of people were kind of fearing at the start of the season, he's Marco Silva signing, so he's going to want to put him in. But the fact that Silva is obviously long gone now, and since Ancelotti's come in, he seems to have taken a little bit of a shining and a favour towards Coleman. I think as well with Sidibe, like a lot of people
he hasn't, Jared, to be honest.
Yeah,
because there's been opportunities where there's certain games he'll play Sidibe and there's certain games he'll play Coleman. When we're playing any of the bigger teams in the league, bar Wolves, he'll play Coleman.
But like I think for the reputation that Sidibe has mentioned, like a World Cup winner, was part of that brilliant Monaco team that got to Champions League semi-final. I'd be kind of expecting a little bit more. I was kind of expecting him to take the Premier League by storm. And I don't think you can kind of really say he's done that. The Jordan Pickford situation, I get like goalkeepers, they're not superhuman. Like they have their flaws. They're always going to have an odd mistake in them. But I feel it's every game with Pickford. Like you mentioned that situation yesterday, he dropped the ball, just about picked up and laughed. He nearly done a similar thing as well against Leicester a couple of weeks ago as well. That would have drawn the game, like after being 2-0 up. It's just not good enough. Like, and this is someone that, like, 2 years ago, at 23 years of age, England #1, playing a World Cup semi-final, you're thinking, right, go on, kick on, progress, and develop as anyone should do at your age. And while England as a team have gone on and kicked on and gone another level, he's gone backwards, and he's definitely now number 3 in that country, because Dean Henderson, Sheffield United's reputation is gone, and Nick Pope for me at the moment is the best English goalkeeper in the Premier League, and done his reputation absolutely no harm with a fantastic game at Anfield on Saturday.
Yeah, well, Everton should be looking to sell Pickford. Apparently, Chelsea are
I think so,
interested.
yeah.
I want him sold for the exact reason you said. I've been, very vocal on Twitter about it. Like, he's an idiot. He just, every game, he's becoming a talking point, and that's not good for a goalkeeper. I also want to touch on, I was out watching Everton against Southampton last week. Southampton made, Everton made Southampton look like Brazil.
Yeah, Matt Letizia was saying that, yeah.
Was he? Yeah, great minds. But like, someone made a point that Everton signings have all been substitutes wherever they've been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Luka Dean was a substitute at Barcelona. Yerry Mina was a substitute at Barcelona. Iwobi was a substitute at Arsenal. Who else? Delph was a substitute at City. Gomez was the substitute at Barcelona. Do you see the trend I'm starting
Yeah.
here? So when you're getting players that are subs in to be first teamers or whatever, and
They're
they're
subs
not,
for a reason.
well, yeah, but I mean, Barcelona at that time had absolute
Yeah.
quality, as well. Let's not be honest. And Luka Dean has a good track record at
Yeah.
clubs. I mean, he's in Roma, PSG, Lille, and Barca, which aren't bad clubs at all. They're all successful in their own right. And I think at Barca he's Jordi Alba to try and take out the team. So, I think Everton done well to get him in the. And I think other than maybe Robertson, especially last season, I think Dean was right up there for left back of the year. I was certainly saying last season he was the best left back in the Premier League, ahead of Robertson. More so saying to wind up Liverpool fans, but I thought he was right on par. I think a lot of people would have done well to
Yeah.
to disagree with me. I mean, I thought they were fairly much on par last year, not this season. I mean, Luka Dean's been poor. Bernard, I think, wasn't a good signing either. I thought he was at the start, but hasn't been doing the business. So look, there's so many substitutes there, and yeah, it's just how, like, you're talking about changing the mentality and becoming the winners and stuff like that. How are you going to do that if you're signing substitutes? Sign first team players who are in form at clubs. The money's there, being told the money's there. But now financial fair play has been the reason for Everton not bringing in players. But now, what's with the City thing? Like, what's going to happen there with financial fair play? So there's so many things to take into consideration. But I suppose we'll get into something a bit better maybe. So it's not so much just based on Everton. But if Liverpool were to bring in 3 players realistically that you would like to see this summer, who would you like to see brought in?
That's a good question. I think one player I've seen is linked with small, but like, this is actually something I think if you get me to tomorrow night, I'd have a good think and have a proper good answer for it. But off the top of my head, just one player I think we've kind of been linked to a little bit, and I think we need just a little bit more youth and freshness in the midfield sector. Ruben Neves. I just think because of his age profile, I think I look at Liverpool's midfield. Henderson is 30 later this year. When Aldom's gone 30, they've played pretty much every game over the last 2 seasons, and Liverpool played a lot of games, particularly last season. So I can't expect them to have the same kind of massive impact, and just kind of go to with the age profile. I think Keita is perfect for that. And I can see why Klopp still wants to keep them and keeps faith to them, because in fairness, any time he's on the pitch of play, he's actually really, really good. It's just injuries. It's just so annoying because he's still that age profile. He's 24, 25. I think Neves is 23, 24. So he'd be pretty good. After that, at the top of my head, I'm not actually. I genuinely don't really know, because like I look at the academy products and like Nico Williams and Curtis Jones, like they look kind of good prospects. So I think maybe extra cover for right back, because Williams is more left back. No, is he more? No, sorry, he's more right back. So maybe cover for left back for Robinson, because you can't really have James Milner filling in there when he's not fit. Like, there was half a season Milner was playing a left back because Klopp realised Moreno was absolutely dog useless after that Arsenal game. Um, I still think Liverpool, like, the front three is good and as great as they are. None of them are actually natural centre forwards. None of them were signed as centre forwards. I know they're great and brilliant, and they all link up really kind of well. So I wouldn't mind a centre forward as well, just to kind of like give a little bit more competition for places there. I think you've seen a little bit of that at the start of last season with Sturridge, and like when he hit the form, hit the ground running with that goal against PSG and Chelsea, but then he just dipped off injuries. Same with Shaqiri, he's just gone off the radar altogether. Like, he's definitely going to be sold, I'd say, this winter, or this summer. So they'd probably be two positions at the top of my head. Like, I can't easily think of anyone. Like, the first name that just pops into my head, just because I mentioned for Manchester United, would be maybe Neves at Wolves. But like, I look at Wolves and I look at the project that they have going there, and they're not short of money and everything else, and they're ambitious. Matt Doherty said it
Look at
last
the
year.
look at the screen there.
Uh,
Koulibaly.
yeah, but I think centre back wise, we're pretty okay. Like, obviously with Van Dijk is brilliant. Matip, I think, has come on. Well, Gomez, I think it hasn't actually been himself the last couple of games. Not the Man City game, and even against Burnley, he wasn't particularly great. Um, but I still think we're okay in that situation. What was I just saying
You were
there?
saying about Matt Doherty and ambitious.
Yeah, but just not about with trying to take Jimenez away from Wolves. But Matt Doherty said last year, Wolves' ambition is to win the Premier League inside the next 5 to 6 years, and that doesn't seem totally ludicrous when you look at the giant steps that they've taken from being mid-table championship to knock on the door of the champions.
Sure, Leicester and Liverpool have
Yeah,
done it, so
that's what I mean.
anyone can do it.
Yeah, and like, they have a really, really good, really good setup there. So, like, I think Jimenez would be looking at that, and like, even if they don't get in to Champions League via the Premier League, they've got that Europa League route, so it could be actually hard enough to try to take him away there. Yeah, I think I'll actually will need the 24-hour extension if you're willing to give me Paul to think about that one. True.
I don't know if I'm gonna be on the live stream tomorrow, but if I'm watching on the comments,
I'll just text you on WhatsApp, and you can pull up on the page or something like that.
Right, well,
Uh,
I couldn't even think of two for Everton right now at the top of my head.
yeah, it's
Realistically,
yeah, but they're probably the three positions I would kind of just look at. But like I said, I think Klopp is kind of looking at it, and I think he kind of thinks that definitely Curtis Jones and Nico Williams, that they're getting there. They're a little bit more ready. They're probably that little bit more mature than someone like Harvey Ellen, a little bit more older, and they're showing glimpses, and they could kind of chip in and play a little bit more of a part next season. Because we thought, like, this time last year, Rian Brewster was going to be ready, and clearly Klopp's seen something that he's not quite ready just there yet. Like, he's gone on loan to Swansea, he's done quite well, but it's still going to be a big step up for him to kind of fit into that kind of mold and for Liverpool with the high levels that they've set for themselves.
yeah. I'm just trying to think of three. I'd like to sign a goalkeeper, Nick Pope or Donnarumma. I'd like, for realistic purposes. Then I would like a right winger. Who? Good question. Like a right winger that would be able to go to the next level. And I'd probably want, and I couldn't give you a right winger off the top of my head. And then I'd probably like to get Lozano from Napoli, who Ancelotti brought in and Brands brought to PSV. So he has a link between the two there. I'd like to get him in. I think he's very, very good. I think he could be a top class player with a bit of the right coaching. So yeah, a right winger. That's just three. Everton need about 11 new signings anyway, but that's just three. I can't even give you a right winger, but I can give you two of the three anyway that I would like.
I think we both need a 24-hour extension for this. I think we'll just come online tomorrow night even to do a watch long, just to give our final answers and everything else. And after all
Yeah.
the tension, suspension, and getting out the notepad and writing out different names and looking up all the different Opta stats and everything.
Well, I'd like a centre back as well because I don't think Mason Holgate is the answer. I think he's good, but I don't think he's great. I mean, a lot of Everton fans think he's amazing, and I don't think he is. I don't think Michael Keane's that good unless he's defending, like on his 18-yard box defending, not giving players 30 yards run on him because then he'll just get skinned because he's so slow. Very good in the air, but then Yerry Mina, some weeks I love him, some weeks I hate him. So I don't know. I don't know. Dave actually said Brewster there. On one of the players you mentioned. I think you already said him though.
Yeah, I think like injuries have obviously set him back a lot after the under 17 World Cup in England. And like we said, we thought this season he's going to kick on, but clearly Klopp has just seen he's not that quite ready. But I think the experience of playing first team football with Swansea is really going to help him every year, and he's doing quite well. But it's still going to be a massive step up. Like we've seen, he's probably in a similar situation to Harry Wilson this time last year, and even he's done good in patches with Bournemouth, but like he
Shane
struggled a little
Long's
bit the
coming on
last.
there now. Sorry.
Yeah, I just seen that he's just come on there for Che Adams, but even he's kind of struggled a little bit like that. It's a massive step up. Like it's a big step up to go from the Championship to Premier League, but to go from the Championship then to playing with a team that's going to be challenging for the Premier League next season is a big ask. But Brewster is a young lad, so give him still give him plenty of time, and obviously the fact as well that he's an English talent as well, that they'll be hoping as well that she can kick on as well a small bit.
Yeah, I meant to say I'd love to see Everton sign an actual centre midfielder that can run.
But just the Delph situation, like I know you're about like a substitute at Man City, but like I know a lot of it was out of position, but he was getting the Manchester City team for quite a while. I know it was at left back, but like he did actually on paper at the time seemed a good player, and like that was a really hard Man City team to play in. It's not as if he done a massive amount wrong with Manchester City. Like he did look at someone that you think was another kind of good sign again, similar to like Luca Digne with Barcelona. You say like in fairness, like it's, at the end of the day, everything they aren't going to be attracting starters from Barcelona and Manchester City. So like it's still no shame to take players that are they're getting a nice bit of action with top clubs.
Well, I think you're right in what you're saying. Coming in, he had a good reputation, but I think what he's done since he's been here, eh, non-existent. He's too busy fighting with fans online. He's not doing anything in matches. I was at the Everton game where they drew 2-2, conceded 2 goals in the last 2 minutes, and he was on the pitch. And he's supposed to be this leader. He's supposed to be the talker. He's supposed to be this and that. Put on a good act in that all or nothing documentary that he was this leader.
I was just going to say that, yeah,
He isn't his arse.
yeah.
He's a leader. You do it on the pitch. He's in his favourite position of centre midfield, and he can't lead from there. So for me, no. Yeah, he might have done okay at City, but he's done nothing at Everton, and I'd sooner sell him than anything else. Um,
Mm.
he doesn't cut it for me, and like you know me, like it doesn't take a lot to impress me. If you're gonna put in 100%. Now I'm not talking like McLean for only win a tackle, then everybody's happy because I don't stand for that. That's not me. But if you're like Shane Long, for example, who doesn't score a lot of goals, or David McGoldrick, but they put in the effort and they work hard for the team, and they make a difference more often than not. I respect that and I'll get behind that. But Delph doesn't do any of those things. He might scream and shout and tell people that they're not good enough, but he needs to have a long, hard look at himself at the same time. Whereas I'd love a David McGoldrick in the team who makes the ball stick in the opposition's half and has that bit of quality. Did you watch that clip of him against Chelsea of his best bits? He was brilliant, by the way.
McCall, your guy, it was just overall, just in general, just absolutely delighted to finally see him get off the mark as well. I thought Enda Stevens was brilliant as well. His cross from McBurney's goal, like the little 1-2, and then just the way the level of the cross was absolutely perfect. Just talk about centre backs for Everton. Now, I know I said it on the watch on last week. I still think he should stay with Sheffield United because he's got a good thing going there and a manager that really likes him, and Sheffield United have a good thing going.
Johnny
But
Egan.
Johnny
Oh,
Egan, like you would
I would
absolutely,
love him.
you'd be like a child on Christmas Eve if he signed, just because, like I said, he's just such a really nice sound fella. Like you interviewed him there a couple of weeks ago. I've seen him do loads of interviews. He just comes across as the soundest fella ever. And just like,
If he's signed for Everton, I could say an Everton player follows me on Instagram.
yes. Do you think though that like he would be kind of like a good sign for everything, or just like, because I'm just saying, just while obviously we all really want to see him do well and take off, like you'd still be a little bit cautious. Like it's still just one good season in the Premier League, and everyone in general in Sheffield United is having a good season. And let's just see how they kind of handle and cope next year, particularly if they get European football.
I don't know.
Oh,
I think he'd be a good player for Everton, but I don't think he should move. I think I like him at Sheffield
yeah,
United. I think he's the star man there, and I don't know if he would be the star man at Everton. And that would be, if he wasn't Irish, I'd be looking at it from a Everton point of view, not really a human point of view. Do you know what I mean? Like from his point of view, lovely bit of play there by Rashford.
yeah.
Um, oh, how's he missed? Anyway, sorry, I got distracted there by the match. But no, it's where was I? Sorry, the Rashford
John
completely
Egan.
threw me. Sorry, yeah. No, just purely because I kind of know him now. And what I'd want to see from an Irish point of view. Like it's kind of like with James McCarthy. I would have loved if he had stayed at Everton because I think he's brilliant, and I knew that he should probably leave because for his Ireland career and he wasn't playing. So now he's left and played for Crystal Palace. And I think if you look at his stats over 90 minutes, I think he's completed the most amount of tackles over any other player in 90 minutes, which doesn't surprise me. He is an animal when he gets going. But John Egan, I mean, he could sign for any of the top six, traditional top six. I think someone like an Arsenal or Spurs could do him right now because he leads from the back. And he has got quality. He's just like, don't forget, he's been very unlucky with injuries over his course of his career, especially when he got released by Sunderland and he broke his leg then, I think, at Gillingham. And, easily could
Dad
have
passed away then. He was only
I
20 as
think it was
well. Like,
before then, but he could have easily packed it in. Just like, right,
yeah,
listen, this isn't going for me. But he climbed the leagues, and he's for me, he's in the top 10 defenders in the Premier League at the moment. If you're going on current form, I think I said this last week.
yeah, definitely. I definitely would stand by that. Just in reference to the game here at the water breaks, Will Smallbone is on as well now, so it's nice to see two Irish players on the pitch. Southampton still in this game. We're only 1-0, one goal behind with 20 minutes to go. Anything is possible, although United probably do look more likely to get the third and put this game to bed. But just with John Egan, like I said, like he's adored and he's worshipped in Sheffield United, and he has a manager that absolutely trusts him and believes in him, and he's the main man there. And he's got like Sheffield United are on a crest of a wave at the moment, looking good for European football next season. I think just be careful what you wish for. And I think he's kind of he's a wise enough, smart enough lad, like, and I think he won't be in any hurry to leave Sheffield United as well. And I think as well, like the fact that he's got the two Irish players there, I think that's a massive help and just kind of adds to a little bit more of a homely feel there as well. Because I think McGoldrick signed the same season when Stevens was there already, so I think like the three of them have probably built up a really really good bond there. And I think that would definitely would mean a lot to him and everything else. And as much as you would love to see him, as you said, like sign for one of the top clubs, and I think he could go in, like especially like a Spurs or Spurs definitely look like they're going to be rebuilding at the back, like. But you just be kind of just careful that like you've got a good thing going and stick with it. Really, would be my kind of way of looking at the moment with Sheffield United.
Wolves could be another option for him though as well.
Yeah, just actually mentioned there was
He's good
with
mates with
Wolves.
Matt Doherty.
Yeah, I just mentioned there with actually with Wolves, and for centre back option with Everton. I know he's got Liverpool links with being an academy player, but would Connor Cody be something that would interest you?
He's not going to leave Wolves to join Everton right now. So
Yeah, I suppose again similar thing.
he's
Like,
looking at Everton and he's looking at Wolves. And if you're him and you're looking at the two projects, which one's more, I suppose, on the right track, you're going to say Wolves.
Solicho at Leicester, because you can't say that they're on a
Who?
similar project to Wolves. The Turkish lad was Leicester. I think
Soyuncu.
Solicho. Solicho. I think maybe.
I don't know. I think Johnny Evans makes him look good.
Yeah,
Johnny Evans is quality.
Yeah, I think at this stage, I think Evans is kind of wise and smart enough in his career at this stage. I think like he probably wouldn't go to Everton. I think he's quite happy and content to stay with it.
31, isn't he, Evans?
I think it's just because he burst on the scene so young with United that like you actually forget that he's still actually quite young. But like it's
I think he is. I'll check what age he is now.
Yeah.
You go on with what you're saying. I'll check his age.
But just say even actually Johnny Evans, I know I kind of probably would think that he's probably content and happy enough with Leicester, but like there was a lot of talk like up until not that long ago that like if Man United held on to him, like he'd be how desperately glad and grateful to have him now, given all their centre back issues. And I still think like I still have him ahead of definitely Lindelof and if not Maguire.
32.
32. So yeah, I think I.
Well, Mourinho said he would never have sold him. Mourinho said that. Van Gaal sold him. And did he go to West Brom first? Then Leicester.
He did, yeah. Because I remember when he was at West Brom, he's been linked with Arsenal, so he was fantastic as well at West Brom. Yeah.
He's like Even Jagielka now at Sheffield United's doing really well. I'd love to see him.
Yeah. And in fairness as well to Johnny Evans, he actually comes across as actually a quite likable fella as well. In fairness to him.
I think he was in the hospital last year with himself. I think it was Stephen Davis, Shane
He
Duffy, and
was actually, yes, I remember that. It was just before we played
yeah,
Northern Ireland that friendly. That I think it's him, Stephen Davis, and a couple of our lads went up from Crumlin Children's Hospital. Like
Shane Duffy was one. I can't remember the other one. Might have been Glenn Whelan.
could have been maybe, yeah.
But yeah, so I think what we'd
Oh,
give to have him, I think as well. I think he'd be a super player. I think
yeah.
he's a top class defender. I think
I
Shane
think
Duffy's a
like
very good player. I think Evans would be better. I think Egan, sorry, Egan and Evans, I think together would be unbelievable.
I think like if you were to like take any current players playing for Northern Ireland at the moment, like I think him would definitely be a nailed on one. And probably the only other player I would be kind of thinking like I'd try and find a way to fit him and play with Ireland would be Stuart Dallas with Leeds, because I think he's been really, really exciting to watch. And I could actually, if Leeds do go up, which I think they will, you could see him having a similar impact in the Premier League next year as well, like Matt Doherty and the Stevens have had with Wolves and Sheffield United respectively. That's certainly, I think, the way Northern Ireland fans will be looking at, because he does really look a good player in fairness to him.
Yeah, but I don't really take much notice of their players. Like Johnny Evans is like he's won leagues.
Yeah,
He's been part of teams where Ferguson had him as part of the teams when they won the
yeah.
league. I think the last time he won the league, he was one of the main players in the team. It's definitely the squad anyway, and he knows how to win leagues. He knows how to win games. It's funny that he ends up going to Leicester, who had won the league. Um, and obviously, I don't know. I don't think Brendan Rodgers signed him, but they were smart to buy him, because when he left West Brom,
No, it would have been, yeah, it would have been. Well, he left West Brom after they got relegated, I think, and it would have been Claude Puel that signed him. I think he was still part of the West Brom team that got relegated,
I don't know if he
or
was.
he could have left maybe that January or something.
Maybe so, maybe
Yeah.
so.
Well,
Um,
a lot of the reason West Brom went downhill, and Middlesbrough is another prime example of that, is because they got rid of Tony Pulis. And I know you can say his style of football is not effective, but it's no major coincidence that Middlesbrough have gone from being knocking on the door to Premier League to now in serious danger of being relegated to League One.
Stoke.
Stoke, in fairness, like Mark Hughes came there, and for a couple of years at first, like he done really, really well. I remember that day, probably another dark day being a Liverpool fan, when they battered us, was a 5 or 6-1 the final day of the season. Like they actually finished 7th or 8th that
Super
season,
Johnny Walters.
and then like the following season, like which was the year Leicester won the league, like for parts of that season, Stoke were being talked about challenging for Europe as well. So I think it was only in the latter end that things kind of started to go down south for Mark Hughes at Stoke, and there's kind of, I wouldn't say instantly things went downhill for Stoke, that they regret getting rid of Tony Pulis.
It's funny with Stoke, though, isn't it? They used to bring in players like Bojan and what was that lad who played at Barcelona? He was a young winger. He got injured. He's a wide player. Ibrahim Afellay.
Oh, Afellay, was it Inter Milan or Bayern Munich?
Barca.
Barca. There was a
And
period where they had the most Champions League winners in their squad.
yeah, it was mad. They had loads of players who were class.
Yeah, Shaqiri.
Yeah. Robert Huth was at them for a while, wasn't he?
That's right. Yeah,
Before he
before he
went to
went
Leicester.
to Leicester. But it's interesting even as well from listening to like Peter Crouch's podcast. Like he really enjoyed his time and loved his time at Stoke, and a lot of that obviously was the fact that Tony Pulis was the manager at the time. But like he said, he couldn't wait to get out of Stoke at the end. It's just like the morale had just kind of gone downhill since their relegation. They lost a lot of characters. The players that they brought in didn't kind of seem to kind of replace what was going, even in terms of spirits and having the fun and having the crack. And like he just couldn't wait to get out the door with them. And like he was saying like that he was delighted, even if it was only for 6 months, that he got that spell at Burnley, fell back in love in football, and kind of for him he retired on a high, like just because things had just gone so wrong at Stoke.
Well, that's what happened when you get rid of Glenn Whelan.
Yeah, and Jonathan Walters as well. But I
Well,
think like
he had gone to Burnley, so I think he might have been
yeah,
retired when when Walters retired. I think Crouch might have been there for that, or just towards
was
the
he? I
tail.
think he'd gone on loan to Ipswich by that stage. Walters.
Gary, hang on, there's comments there. Pure style of football is effective, just not appealing. He says, "Big fan, by the way. Good work, keep it up. Thanks, Gary."
Great to hear. But like even Crouch, he was very, very complimentary and talked up the Irish lads big time at Stoke. He said likes of Glenn Whelan and John Walters and Mark Wilson. They were great lads to kind of keep the old school kind of traditions and games of playing the cards, and they weren't lads who were stuck on their phones and stuck in social media and everything else. They were good lads that you could have a chat and have a crack with, like the way it was for him when he first started playing football, the crack you'd have down at the back of the bus. And he always said the Stoke lads is Irish, or the Irish lads of Stoke were great for that.
It's things you love to hear as well. But I even
Yeah,
still see Seamus Coleman on buses with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Tom Davis, and I think it was Leighton Baines with cards there. Great photo there the other week.
that's right. He was coming back from what game was it?
London probably somewhere.
Probably was, yeah.
Leicester
Or
maybe.
it was either that, or it was either the Tottenham game or the
No, it was
Norwich game.
before that. It was after the game we'd won. Probably Norwich.
Ah, so it's probably the Norwich game, yeah, and that's a long journey as well.
Yeah, but they were playing cards on that, just
Yeah,
having the crack and laughing. And that's the type of thing you want to see as well.
yeah. Some of the good old rituals that were part and parcel of football haven't kind of died away, like.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone is in the comments there, I'm gonna finish this video probably 10 minutes early, Jerry, or at least jump out 10 minutes early because I have to get up to the shop before I close at 10. It'll be 10 to 10 by the time I finish up. So you can stay on the chat if you want and do Q&A with fans if you want. But if anyone's in the comments there, I want to leave a couple of comments before we head off. Please do. The score at the moment is still Manchester United 2, Southampton 1. We got Will Smallbone on the ball right now, for me anyway. And I got Shane Long as well on the field. So we have two Irish players on the field. Well, I wonder what the story is with Obafemi and why he's not getting a game lately.
Um, I don't know, especially with the five subs think that he'd be coming in. Like I don't think he even came off the bench today. I think it was just the
No,
two
he didn't.
lads again. Yeah, he hasn't overly caught my eye that much
Over
since
the
lockdown. I
lockdown
thought,
anyway, yeah.
yeah, like the Norwich game, particularly the first half, I thought he was quite poor and he gave a lot of ball away. Especially in the first half, I think he wasn't getting involved in the game. I think he was just trying too hard a little bit. Now he got a nice assist in the end for Nathan Redmond. He done a nice simple thing, and that probably done a lot for his confidence. But he can go through phases like that. Like sure, like the manager wasn't picking Shane Long at the start of the season, and then he kind of came into favour. So I suppose he just probably obviously Danny Ings is never going to be dropped, and I suppose Che Adams is the most recent out of them lads to get a goal, and he probably just wants to kind of give him a bit more of a continued run. As Shane Long has a tame header there. That's an easy save for De Gea. But hopefully now, I suppose it's mad to think that it seems no length to go since Project Restart started, but we've only got 3 games left after tonight, so hopefully he will get a couple of outings before the end of the season.
Yeah, we'd like to hope so. I just wonder why he's not. He did look a bit leggy the first. There's the time header there. He did look a bit leggy when he did play, but he still got an assist in one of the games. I'm pretty sure against Norwich. Yeah, he did.
No, that's just saying that there, yeah.
So you'd wonder what's he got to do to get into the team that the rest of them aren't doing.
Hmm.
I know Che Evans scored against City, but he was gifted the goal.
Fairness to him, I will say he had a lot to do and he took it well.
One touch.
Oh yeah, but it was a long way out, like.
Just hit a high curve shot and it's in. It's easy. Premier League football, it's definitely easy as well. Unless you're Tom
Is,
Davis.
is Che Adams actually though really a Premier League footballer though? In fairness to him,
Well, he is now.
he is, but quality-wise, he still looks like a championship player to me.
Would you say the same about Obafemi?
Uh, yeah, I suppose if to call a spade, possibly, yeah. The only thing is Obafemi is a little bit younger than Che Adams, but like I think a lot of them players, like we're going to see it next year now with Adam Hyde, and that's going to be the real kind of test of it. Like for them young lads, even just playing championship football, I still think is massive. Like Jay Malumbi is a prime example of that this year actually. How it can really, really kind of stand you. Like I know don't get me wrong, it's great and it's brilliant to see the likes of Obafemi and Connolly playing in the Premier League. But even if they were to get a championship loan move next season, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It'd be good for their confidence, get them a couple of goals and everything else like that, and still be playing a reasonable standard of football. Like Shane Long had one season down the championship at Reading and it done him the wonder of goals. He ends up being the top scorer over 20 goals. So sometimes just to take a little drop like that isn't totally end of the world. And like next season, we'll be interested to see what happens with Adam Ida. There's a good chance he should get more game time, and playing at a slightly less level at that age would be good for his confidence and his development.
I think Alameda is going to have an unbelievable season next year. I've been saying it for the last few weeks. I don't know if I put that idea in your head, but I've been saying that for a few weeks now, and I just think that Norwich going down. I also think Gavin Kilkenny and Mark Travers could benefit if Bournemouth go down as well.
Yeah,
So there's definitely opportunities for teams if these clubs go down. Villa, Conor Howard in another season in the Championship. I still think he's Premier League quality. He came on, turned the game for Villa yesterday, and he's done that a couple of times this season. Maybe not been given the run that he probably deserves in the team. Don't know why. Don't watch Villa enough to tell you why. But I like Conor Howard, and I think he's a nice lad. Firstly, and secondly, I think he's a good player. And I think I'd like to see him get signed by, even like a Burnley or someone like that, where he can float balls into big, tall strikers. That'd be a deadly move for him, I think, or something along those lines. I'd love to see him stay in the Prem and maybe get a bit of a run with the Ireland team, because he was never really given a good run. I know Mick gave him a couple of games here and there, and he was grateful for that. But there was other games where, like, he was dropped for one game in particular. I think it was either after Georgia or Switzerland.
I think he could have been dropped for Switzerland away after the Georgia match.
Yeah,
but like a team
him
like
and
Burnley,
Hendrick were not good in that game though.
A team like Burnley would probably suit him because they depend a lot on set pieces, and that is his main speciality. That's like he proved that again yesterday with his delivery for the first goal for Trezeguet. Just on about Gavin Kilkenny, that's actually kind of annoyed me a little bit, the lack of, not even game time, but even substitute appearances, especially now the fact you can name 9 substitutes for Bournemouth, because he was meant to be really impressing in pre-season. I think he got man of the match in their last pre-season game before start of season against Leon, and Eddie Howe was talking him up and everything else like that. And apart from cup games, he hasn't thrown him in, and it's a little bit annoying. Obviously, I know he's not going to go throwing him in now to start this stage of the season with Bournemouth literally scrapping for any little bit of life they got left. But it is annoying. But I think, if they go down, like, there's going to be a couple of departures, and like, they're not a club. Oh, what a save by De Gea. Good chance there for Redmond. They're not a club massive with finances, so they probably will have to rely a little bit on their younger players. And one thing as well I want to see in the last 3 games this season, now that Norwich are definitely absolutely relegated and have nothing to play for, Daniel Farke, will you please just start Adam Ida and give him a chance? Because, like, Pookie has showed for the last while, his confidence is not there as much anymore. Like, he gave him one chance against Manchester United, didn't kind of work out. A couple of substitute appearances is enough. Just throw him in there at the deep end. You've got nothing to lose, and I think it'd be brilliant to see. And he should have done it already. And definitely now the fact that they have that letter R beside their name, he should definitely do it in some of the last 3 games this season.
Yeah. I have been saying that too. I would love to see him from an Irish point of view get a run. He's been coming off the bench and doing decent things in games. He played well against Man United when he came off the bench. Done okay against Everton. Didn't get that long against Everton. Hit the post against Brighton. So
here he is. Obafemi's on now.
4 minutes to go.
He's off a big lad for someone who's only 20 years of age, 19 even.
He's just muscly, like.
Yeah. Could be a good chance from score here. It's a handsome corner that unfortunately hasn't come to much. Anyway, you were saying?
Gary 3965 says Jack Byrne's chances of a move to England. I think his chances of a move to England could be scuppered because of
COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The League of Ireland restart and stuff like that. I don't know, does he want to go there? He
lives
a bit of a celebrity life here in Ireland at the moment.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who he is, and he seems to be on Instagram enjoying himself, going golfing every day.
Living at home with his mother again. I think that's something that he's really appreciating after years of being abroad and living in different countries. And like I said,
I think he needs like to think about what does he want to be an Ireland regular, or is he happy living in Ireland playing for Rovers and maybe trying to create history with Rovers in Europe, for example.
Maybe, I think as well, like, there's a good chance if he gets to a championship club like in England, that's what you kind of be looking for. They mightn't play the most kind of attractive brand and style of football. We've seen it before at Blackburn and Wigan. It didn't kind of work out for him as well. I think as well, like, about there, he's liking his life and lifestyle in Dublin. And like, you have to remember at the end of the day, Dublin as a city in terms of lifestyle and things to do has a lot more to offer than a lot of places in England and it's what particularly a lot of the places in the championship, except maybe if you're in London. So like I
Yeah,
think you'd be
Lancashire and these places.
yeah, like of I don't mean to talk down any place or anything else like that. Like I'm not here to do that, but like likes of Hull, Middlesbrough, and all these, they don't have a reputation for being the most glamorous places to live. Where Dublin has a lot more to kind of offer and more attractive, and all these friends and family are kind of here. So yeah, but as you mentioned, I think if he actually does really want to get serious about being an Ireland international, like he would have to take a move. But like he done it before, he went to Holland. Like just because he has to like leave the League of Ireland to become an Ireland regular, it doesn't always have to mean it's a move to England. You can move to a more technical, advanced league, like the Dutch league, like the Portuguese league, which is still a good standard league that would suit his style of play, as he showed when he was out in Canberra a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, look, it's 10 to 10. I'm gonna have to leg it for the shop. Do you want to stay on by yourself there, or will I end it now? It's no point in having.
For the sake of a minute of injury time, a minute normal time injury time, I'm sure I'll stay on anyway. And sure, look, I'll stay on the hope and optimism that an Irish player will score.
Can you end it then? Yeah.
Uh, no, I can't because I'm not actually signed in. So maybe actually, yeah, well, oh, well, I can leave studio, but I don't know how that works.
No,
Maybe
it'll
maybe
just
just to be
stay on.
sure, we'll just end it.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone for joining us, and I suppose we'll probably get on for another live stream during the week and try and get more comments. All the comments are coming flying in now as we're getting off, unfortunately.
And all the views are coming up as well. I think we reached up to over 40 there on Facebook.
Yeah, well, that's Facebook and YouTube combined, but there's two players down there now. I think Obafemi might be one. No,
Nah,
sorry.
looks no, it's Obafemi's standing over the ball. I knew it wasn't Obafemi. His legs are too small.
Yeah. All right. Well, it might be Redmond. Um. Right. Well, we're jumping off, guys. Thanks for jumping in, and we'll catch us again during the week. Enjoy the rest of the game. Bum, bum, bum.
See you, people.